Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. It is Monday, and that means we are talking with Rylas Dana. How you doing, sir?
Hi, doing great. Glad to be here. Having another exciting conversation.
Yeah, we're gonna have a couple today, so stay tuned for 1 and 2. The first one, though, is actually coming from our private Facebook group. You are a member of the Facebook group, One Rental at a Time Works, and you're obviously one of my weekly experts. So we put out to our private group, what questions do you have for an estate attorney? We have a bunch of them. As I've gone through the list, some of them are more accounting or lender specific, but we will go through several of them. And if we don't know if it's kind of out of scope, we will just say so. So you ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. First one from, I'll just say their first name, Stefan. Might be useful for everyone how to start LLCs and when to use S Corps, the ins and outs, I think he's saying. So any thoughts on that? LLCs and S Corps and all that?
Yeah, so when to start LLCs, I start to recommend those. So my main bread and butter is an estate attorney, right? Helping people pass their assets to the next generation as easy as possible. As part of that, we want to minimize taxes and also increase the asset protection.
Correct.
And by asset protection, what I mean is if there ever was a lawsuit or any type of liability, you're in a position where you're better protected.
Right.
So where I see LLCs a lot is rental properties is where I start recommending them. So if you have a property that you're renting out, it's recommended that instead of you owning that individually, you own that inside of an LLC.
For entity protection, right? That's another layer.
Yeah, another layer. Now the S Corp, that is kind of a tax component on there. So what an S Corp will do, so with LLCs, you can have them taxed as a partnership or a corporation. So you can check the box. You know this, that you know that nerdy stuff, but I think a lot of people don't. They don't realize that you can choose how it's taxed. But S Corp is a tax treatment where it starts to make sense if you have a lot of income in the LLC.
Yeah.
It can save some self-employment taxes.
Yeah, for me, again, this is more of an accounting question, right? For me, it's always important everybody stays in their lane. It's really where the income comes from, how much of it, it's at least in my experience, if you're just a landlord, right, it's a passive thing for you. It doesn't really add that. But if you're also flipping and wholesaling and you've got all of these other components, probably wise to talk to a CPA versus an estate attorney for when to go S Corp. Is that fair?
Yes, yeah. And then if you're flipping and wholesaling, really each of those activities should be done in their own LLC to separate each of those things from each other.
Definitely. So, yes. Yeah, you want to de-risk the pie, right? If one thing goes wrong in a flip, you don't want it to impact other things, right? Hence entities. Okay, very cool. This one's from Saz. Why trusts to hold assets instead of LLCs?
Ooh, a good question. It should be both, really. So
explain it. Pretend it's a duplex or something. What does that mean, both?
Okay, so a duplex, so rental real estate. I like the LLC to give it protections, so it's not you individually, but the owner of an LLC, which they call a member, should be your trust. You can make your trust the member of the LLC.
Now, so why is that?
So what the trust does, the regular revocable trust is designed to pass assets. So in the event of your death or disability, the trust makes sure that someone's there to manage those things.
Got it.
So, and then if it passes to minor children, we want to make sure that someone's gonna, manage it until they reach a certain age.
So again, in your world, it's not either or, it's kind of a both. Is that fair?
Right. So yeah, so I'm usually starting with the trust, right? People are coming to see me because they want to plan for their assets upon their death. And then when I see people that have rental real estate or certain activities, I'll say, hey, you should have an LLC for these activities, which is owned by your trust.
Okay, very cool. Next from Nick, again, this might be a lending question, but I have some experience here. Do you have to do commercial lending if you buy in an LLC?
Ask your bank, but
exactly.
Ask your bank. Just depends. Probably, right?
I would defer in today's environment, the answer is yes. It wasn't always that way. There was times pre-08 where an LLC, i.e. an entity, was treated just like a person. So you could get a loan, just a standard loan. That is not an estate question. That is definitely a lender question. And lending could change over time. So I don't think there is a hard and fast rule. It's talk to the bank.
That's kind of one of the hassles with LLCs, right? One of the factors you got to weigh.
Sure.
So if by putting properties in an LLC, if you have a mortgage, you have those considerations with your bank.
Yeah. Next from Jessica, can you quit claim deed to your LLC without repercussions?
I say yeah. So I think she's referring to the due on sale clause.
I think so too. Yes.
And we've discussed this briefly where I think it's at least debatable, right? Where you're still the owner, right? If you transfer from yourself as an individual to an LLC or an entity that you own and control, it's at least debatable that you're still the member, the owner. If you push the bank for an answer, if you say, tell me that I can do this,
right,
they're going to say no.
Yeah.
Because they're going to take kind of the other end of the spectrum. But in the experience shows, as long as they're getting paid, it's rarely an issue.
Right. I've seen it become issues. Actually, most of the several times where I've heard it become an issue is actually when a bank gets bought. It's not the bank itself who did the loan and is getting paid, but sometimes when they're getting audited to get bought by another bank, I've heard several people get caught in that. And I think you've had this conversation. You're the attorney here, not me, but you're like, hey, if you get called, just tell the bank, oh, sorry, my bad, I'll deed it back. I think that was kind of your answer.
Yeah, real easy fix. So I would say the risk is really minimal, if any. And part of the reason it's so minimal because there's a quick solution.
Right. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Right.
My bad.
Right.
Oh,
back in.
Done. There you go. Very cool. All right. Next from Manny. Let's say someone wants to switch their rentals that are in an LLC to his or her personal name. Is there rules for switching rentals from an LLC to a personal name?
Not really. There just may be some tax considerations, I guess, depending on how you're accounting and doing things, but probably.
Yeah, if it's a pass through, which most small landlords are, wouldn't even be a tax difference, I don't think.
In California, you got to be careful of the property tax reevaluation.
Yeah, it could happen. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But there's exclusions for that. You just have to.
Yeah, to figure out which exclusion, right? There's a lot. There's a list of like 15 of them I see every time I sell a property. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, here's another one, kind of a version of that from Tanya. Or can properties be moved from one solo member LLC to another solo LLC? And are there tax implications?
Sure, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's a.
It sounds like if they're both entities that you own and control.
Sounds like, yeah.
But if you're transferring from you to another different owner, that could be a gift.
No, that would certainly be, yeah. But like if I own, if I have Zuber LLC 1 and Zuber LLC 2, if I'm still I don't know, actually. I have to talk to an accountant on that one. I don't know.
Might be just a little bit more work for your accountant to.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember any of the exceptions being LLC to LLC. That's an accounting question. I'm not sure. But as far as entity movement, no. I mean, if you want, it's just like you to your LLC to you, it could be LLC 1 to LLC 2. Maybe the valuation of the portfolio has grown where you want to take stuff out, make another one. It's all doable, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. From Chad, should I form an umbrella company or holding company if I have multiple LLCs?
Maybe depending on your goals and everything, what you're trying to do. That's in a question, for your accountant, but also just kind of again, what your goals are.
Play that one out for me. Let's pretend you're not in California, because California has an $800 per tax per entity. Let's assume you're in some cheaper state. Let's say I had 8 properties and 8 LLCs. Why would a 9th LLC or the umbrella or holding company, why would the 9th one be helpful? I don't see that.
Maybe to manage things in one place. Yeah, I don't know. So maybe for estate planning considerations, if you're gifting an interest, right, it'd be easier to
Okay.
give like a little piece of all of them
Right.
to, but
Okay.
again, that's another specific thing.
Right.
So
Oh, okay. So the umbrella would be the holding company. Got it. So you could in theory give 10% of the holding company, which would ripple through to the, I got it. Okay.
yeah, so I guess, what is the goal? What are you trying to do
Yeah.
in that situation? So
Yeah. For me, I just see more work, but yeah, there's things
yeah, that's always the question. Does it outweigh the extra work, right? Yeah, it's possible, but what benefits do you get, and does it outweigh the
Okay.
maintenance? And
Cool. Here's another one. How do I structure it so I can pay myself for managing my properties? Is that even a good idea in the first place?
yeah, you should get paid for what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
but again, how you do it depends as well, right? Whether you take it out. So with LLCs, and like if you do an S corp, what you're
Mhm.
trying to do is reduce self-employment tax.
Correct.
But you still have to take so much. You have to take a fair wage out as your salary,
Right.
and then you can have some profits on top of that, and then
Mhm.
the profits don't get hit with the self-employment tax.
Okay.
So there could be a way to do that. And again, I'd say talk to your accountant. Again,
This is
to
why
see where you should
attorneys
be
and
getting-
accountants, they're part of your team. This is becoming
Yeah,
obvious for folks, I hope.
yeah, good accountants, they pay themselves really quick, right? By helping you save income tax. And that's a good example of if you have multiple entities, you want to have that conversation where you should be getting paid from and how it should be coming out.
Mhm. Cool. This one's from Bawa. How many properties do you recommend putting under one LLC in the state of California? And do you recommend getting umbrella insurance for all your properties?
So I recommend umbrella.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah. Without question. The answer to the umbrella is yes, yes, and yes.
yeah, and then I'd like your answer to this one as well, Mike. But mine, what I'll say, that there's kind of two schools of thought to this. So what I heard from another attorney, again, and this is an attorney that creates a lot of entities. So again, the bias from them is to create more. But if you're just starting out, like your first 5 properties, some people claim that each of those should be in their own entity.
Yeah.
Because the argument is if something goes bad in either one of those, you can't afford to have it spill over to the others.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a little overkill.
Yeah.
I look at total equity per LLC, a matter of how much you're comfortable putting in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it is good, whether if you have 3 properties or 30 or 300, it's very different, right? How much risk you're willing to take in one place.
Yeah, for me, it's all equity. That's the only question that matters, right? Because again, what is the entity supposed to do? It's supposed to protect equity, right? Because again, if you're going to get hit, that's what they're coming for. So if you had 100 properties and you had $7 equity, put them all in one LLC. But if you had 100 properties and you had 100 million in equity, then you have 100 LLCs, right? So to me, it's only an equity question, and it's what's your risk profile. And again, that could change. Back to one of the earlier questions, right? You're buying in 2010, and 10 years later, they've all 10x. That's probably a different picture. So this is something you think about over time for sure. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. All right, last one. Let's say there are 3 people in the LLC with all 3 of our would all 3 of our credits be pulled? What sort of loan would a new LLC get? What are the requirements? That's a lender question.
Yeah, I like it though. So here's my answer. None. You don't. You don't create an LLC and banks are like, oh great, this brand new entity, let's lend it money.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen
with no credit history.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're gonna want all 3 of your credit.
Yeah.
Personal guarantees.
Absolutely.
It depends on your bank.
Yeah, if you don't have 2 years of provable track record minimum, in this answer, all 3 of you are going to get pulled, and they're not going to loan to the LLC. It's just not, at least not a traditional bank. Yeah. All right. That's the list of questions, folks. Again, Rylas, thank you very much for being a part of this. If somebody in our group want to get a hold of you, or somebody else wanted to ask you questions, how do you want them to reach out?
Yeah, so I practice law in Arizona and in California. So if you have questions about estate planning, probate, trust administrations, Dana Legal Help is our website, danalegalhelp.com. So you can go there. There's a lot of videos, a lot of content.
Very cool. Well, folks, do me a favor, pay attention for episode number 2. We're going to talk about this wage inflation and one of the things that is likely going to happen. So, Rylas, thank you very much, buddy.
And thank you.
Mhm.